All right, good morning, everybody. So this morning, I think as Josh said, we're going to talk about the future of AI in Silicon Valley. I'm Marie Milo. I'm one of the editors at San Jose Spotlight. And today we're going to discuss San Jose, how can it attract and support people and companies who are doing AI? And while we're also going to look at privacy, how do we protect it? Transparency, how it doesn't get lost with the use of technology, and how it will affect the workforce. That is a lot to unpack, and I have the experts. So let me tell you who we got. We have Peter Leroux Munoz. He is hold on, he's out of order, so let me find him. He is the Senior Vice President of Technology and Innovation for the Silicon Valley Leadership Group. Then I have Vas Bhanakar, who has founded 3 AI companies, and 2 of them have gone IPO. I have Khalid Tawfiq, excuse me, the Chief Innovation Officer of the City of San Jose. And last but not least, I have Ahmad Banafak.
We need AI for that. That's cool.
We need AI for that. Yes, we do. Banafa.
You got it.
Right. Okay. Professor of San Jose State University with a PhD in artificial intelligence. All right, let's get to it. All right, the first question is for everybody. So San Jose Mayor Matt Mahan wants to attract the next generation of AI startups to the city. And he essentially wants to position San Jose as the AI center of the world. What incentives are needed to draw these companies to San Jose? And how can we compete with places where the cost of living and the land is so much cheaper, like Texas or Nevada? And Khalid, I'm going to ask you first, since this is your employer.
Absolutely. Thank you for the question. It starts really with a clear vision and a commitment from the leadership from the city to position San Jose as the leader in this space. And build on the momentum, we have about 10,000 AI-related patents in the city. So definitely we are on the right track. We just need to focus more on how can we distinguish the city to continue that lead and extend the lead as needed. What the city has done this week, the city council approved the budget for the first time to dedicate funding for AI for the city. That means, one, we're going to have resources to invest in AI initiatives in the city. The second part is incentives for companies with AI services to be operating in the city. And last but not least, to kind of support the GovAI initiative that the city has been leading to facilitate policies, procedures, and take away some of the risk associated with AI when it comes to privacy, equity, and things related to that. So AI will go where the talent is. And we have great talent in the city. We have a great university in San Jose. And all of that really makes San Jose unique and attracting, and the current leadership in the AI patents speaks for that fact.
Thank you for that. Okay, then Ahmed, I'm going to ask you, since you're right next door to the city with San Jose.
Actually, we're very proud that we are partnering with the city of San Jose in many of the initiatives for the AI. But let me go back to your question about why the Bay Area, and I'm going to take it from the big picture and then go down to the San Jose, why the Bay Area is so attractive, and also the Silicon Valley term that so many countries and so many cities tried to replicate that, and they failed. Basically, they couldn't. There's only one Silicon Valley, and it's here. There's you can look at, they can name it whatever they name it. What the Silicon Valley, the real Silicon Valley is here. The reason for this is actually, as Steve Jobs said one time, is you look at the Silicon Valley and you're going to see a mix of talents from all over the world. Number 2, you look at the weather we have compared to other places. And 3, you have the universities that can feed with this kind of knowledge. You have those 3, then you're going to have really an ingredients for success of AI. Now back to what we talk about, why not have San Jose City as the capital of AI? It's not impossible. It's just a matter of talking to the right people. Why about 35 of the top AI companies is actually in San Francisco? This will be the step number one, understand why they are there, what's the reason. San Francisco is more expensive than what we have here when it comes to living, when it comes to all the transportation and things. So you take it from that point, and then you can just offer them just more than just, I'm going to take the fees or the permit. You have to offer them way more than that by giving them the talents, open the door for them that they can partnership with others. San Jose is about 20 minutes from all the big names in the valley. This kind of selling point will make San Jose City as the capital of AI. We are still at the beginning of the AI revolution. We still have many years to go. So there's a lot of people going to raise their hand, pick me up to be number one. There will be more than one capital for the AI, not just one. It's just who do a better job for presenting these kind of product. We need one product that coming from San Jose that people are going to say, that they did this one in San Jose City. And that's going to bring all the other companies to us because they want to be around the successful model here.
Got it. Thank you so much. Peter, as a policy maker for the whole area and all the companies you work with, what are your thoughts on this?
This is such an interesting question because when you look at what San Francisco has done versus what San Jose has done, they're two very different approaches, I think, to attraction of AI businesses. San Francisco is really, for the most part, taken more of kind of a laissez-faire approach to it. They're, at the early stages, at least, they were not actively engaged in trying to solicit or bring those companies to their city. And San Jose has taken a very different approach where they are much more targeted and I think a little bit more thoughtful in trying to bring those employees and that workforce here and get that to be localized in the South Bay region. I think it's been said a couple of times and it bears underlining, and that's talent. I mean, that's the single most important thing that startups are really looking for. And you're lucky to have San Jose State, Santa Clara, others nearby, Cal, Stanford, et cetera, but really right here in San Jose to have that corpus of brain power is so incredibly important. So I think looking for ways in which the city can directly engage early stage startups would be a wonderful opportunity to do that. And I know the city is looking at coming up with an incubator specifically around AI. That is certainly a resource that will be helpful. I think the city also, as it looks to deploy more of this technology, creating those partnerships with early stage startups is going to be vital. And I think also another thing that the city can do very concretely is identify what are the data sets that we already have that we can share, because we know that information really is the gasoline that kind of moves the car on AI, so to speak. So identifying publicly available data sets and sharing those with companies, I think, is going to be tremendously important and attractive as AI startups and companies are looking to decide where to locate.
Well, that's a perfect segue to ask Vas the last question, since he's been building companies with AI.
Thank you. It's great to hear all your points, but one thing I'd like to point out as I was researching the city of San Jose is one of the only cities in the world that has published a smart city vision for the future. And incorporating that smart city vision is essential, and you can permeate it throughout with AI. I work on the board of the Center for Digital Transformation for the United States at UC Irvine. And many of those lessons that we've learned, I've been on that board for 8 years, and I think every city, starting with San Jose, can implement a full stack of activities to make San Jose and retain its position as world leader. For one, you could, for example, have hackathons that can leverage with the data that Peter was talking about and create innovative applications. You can have, as they say, it's not it's not that AI will take away jobs. It's people who have AI will take away jobs from people who don't have AI. So if every San Jose city employee is trained with AI, that could be another way of doing it. One other really important initiative that the city of San Jose can embark on, and I can also help with that, is partnering with some of the world's greatest leaders that are right in San Jose. For example, Adobe. They announced stellar results yesterday, and that company is extraordinarily helpful to all for public services. So, for example, again, using the data, every city service, citizen-facing service, can be imbued with all the intelligence of the data and have bots that accelerate access to city services. You could provide services to, for example, automatically fill out forms that are 100% correct. That was one of my previous companies did that, which is helping citizens, especially senior citizens, fill out forms accurately, all using AI. So, if you step back, generative AI, the new wave, has ability to summarize, so people can learn very quickly what's provided by the city. They can help interface with systems, so using code generation. They can use Adobe products to create new things. They can also then help converse with the systems. So all of these systems are critical. Now, if you go back to AI from the previous world, which is predictive AI, you can use it to provide very targeted recommendations of what services are most suitable for each citizen, perfectly personalized services. And that would be, especially, you have all kinds of age groups. You can have classification of people who can then be offered precise services. So, there is and last but not the least, I was talking about, just before, you can use AI to, for example, efficiently route traffic in real time, and so on. So, like fraud detection would be another big area where the traditional AI can help. So, I think the world is an oyster for the city of.
Well, thank you for that. Thank you for all that detail. We really appreciate that. Amit, I'm going to ask you a little bit about San Jose State now. You've got all these students there, and they're right next door to where Khalid works. But here's my question. How do we convince some of these AI degree students and other people who want to be in this workforce to go work for government versus being lured away to NVIDIA or a startup? That's always been a challenge here in the Valley. So how do we make that happen so that that knowledge does come into the government and make it work?
Well, that's a very good point. One of the things that students, and I teach, one of the last classes the student will take before they graduate, which is the senior project, and also the master degree capstone, which is the last class they take it before they graduate and hit the market. So looking at the federal jobs, and I have to give the current administration, the credit for creating a website called AI.gov. And if you look at that, actually it's opening the door for being part of the AI revolution. And they have so many jobs and so many courses that you can take, so you can upskill in this sense. As you mentioned, the difference between working with the government and working with the private sector is money. And it's not just an easy net. The multiplier is huge in this case. But if you want to work with the government, your motivation should be something else other than money. So we explain to them that this is the market where if you're going to work with them, this will be your impact, with your country, with your government, with all of these, all the things that you can change. If you work with the private sector, it's great. You're going to make tons of money. You could be a millionaire, billionaire. There's no question about it. But that comes with the risk of, the industry itself is up and down. I lost my job when I used to work in the industry in 2000 because of the bubble, the .com, .gone, and most of the audience remember that. It's an overnight. I'm done with that. So when we talk about which direction, stability, social service, helping, all these things, some of them will look at it, they say, I would like to have that part of the side of the equation. And some of them look at it and say, well, I'm going to take my chances. There will be a big percentage of them because probably it's not just them. There's pressure from their family, from their peer, from what they see people are making out of that, out working with those companies. The government has to do a better job. This is one thing. They have to present the benefit. They have to go to the universities and have a table next to the other tables that we have them in the career fairs. Say, you're going to work with us. This is what you're going to get. This is what's going to be your future when you are working with us. I tell them that. Why people go and work with the FBI? The FBI, what's the average salary? About $35,000, that the salary for that to start with the FBI agent. And the reason for this is because they have a higher calling. It's not just be part of, I'm going to make money, I'm going to make money. And you will find a percentage who will be interested about this. So showing them the two pictures and up to them to decide where to go.
And can I just build on that for a quick second? I mean, again, we're going back to that idea of talent, right? So I think people are starting to get a sense for that theme and how important that is to the development of the technology. I mean, right now, governments at all levels are looking to fill their AI ranks with experts and those with expertise. I mean, at the federal level, President Biden, he's got an AI surge, where they're trying to get folks in and diverse folks into different positions at the federal government. And certainly when we look at the state and at the local levels, that's equally important. I think something that's been really interesting that San Jose has done is that they've created a consortium of local municipalities from around the country that are for issues around AI. And they're leading that. So they provide resources, templates, et cetera, expertise to other municipalities. And so many different places, cities are looking for those workers. And to get to the point too about a higher calling, I mean, there is something very special about working on issues that impact the community in which you live. And I previously served in local government, so I had that experience, and I see some of my colleagues in the crowd who have done the same as well. So it's a very unique calling, and sometimes it's an objective, I think, that is very different from just a simple monetary decision. And I think as we look at this in terms of trying to bring others in, I think we're also seeing governments deploying more and more AI in different ways, whether it's finding ways to improve traffic flows, or to reduce crime, or to combat homelessness, or issues like this. So for those people who have an interest in community issues, there are a lot of different ways that governments are putting this into practice, and you can be on kind of the cutting edge of how that technology is deployed to make a difference in communities.
If I can add just one, like for 30 seconds about it. One of the projects for a master's degree, a group of 4 students, they are trying to predict when the crime going to happen in San Francisco. So they're using the generative AI model, collected the data, and the data is public data. So it's just to say with a percentage that this area we anticipate there will be a concentration of 5-6 crimes. No specification of what kind of crime is going to happen, but that's the first step. This has nothing to do with Minority Report, with Tom Cruise, So I don't want anybody to be worried about it. You're under arrest because you're gonna commit a crime. It's just, this is an example, and I was talking to the, to the crowd here about, a professor at San Jose State. He contacted me about using AI in criminal justice, and which is fantastic. I think we discussed that in more details. The key thing is the Association of Policing is actually looking for something like this because they're going to help them in cases which is the case management, the discovery, and bias, looking at the transcript of the, of the witnesses, all of these things. The government would like to have this. And as you said that, yes, tons of jobs at, at the federal, at the state, and the local level is just that stereotype about working with the government is really just pushing people, oh, you're going to work with the government? Well, how much are you going to make? We have to change that.
Let me jump in.
Yes, and before you jump in, Vas, I just wanted to get over to Khalid because we're all talking about his world.
Thank you. So if you look what this really distinguishes government workers from the private sector, it's really people who are really smart with kind hearts. They feel connected. They want to do something meaningful. It's not only about making money. It's about going home feeling good about how you spent your day. And this is really what we appeal to, because I cannot compete with the private sector. We don't get stock options. We don't get all the benefits that you would get. I joke sometimes when we end the meeting early, I tell them we don't give stocks, but we give minutes back to employees. So that's our give back to them. That's a bonus. So it's really helpful for us to focus on people who care about the community and make sure that they are the qualified, dedicated, and we get the best results from that. I've been with the city a little over 2 years now, and when I started, we have about 24% vacancy in IT. And being one of the leanest cities, large cities in the country, it was really devastating for me. It's hard work, and we don't have enough resources. Today, we're about 3% vacancy rate. So just working with the school for internship, just looking for candidates, and once the work that we do get promoted and people see, this is a little bit different. The San Jose government, this city is doing a little bit more than anybody else. That really appeals to a lot of people. How many people get to work on homelessness issues? How many people get to work on AI in government resolving very old, complex issues? We have a program with the state university where we're trying to do predicting models for those who are really at the edge of becoming homeless or being vulnerable. How can we detect and outreach these people to see, can we help people before they get home? You cannot get that in the private sector. So this is some of the things that we really are proud of. And I'm proud that the city has 4 full-time positions dedicated to AI, privacy, equity through data. And we take this program very seriously. And this is really the magnet for the new generation when they feel that the city is doing that kind of quality, meaningful work, they attract to it. That's why I'm really with the city of San Jose.
And are you seeing results, or is it too early yet as you integrate these type of AI programs into the areas?
We are seeing results. We have programs that have been already in place for a while. We're doing some pilots that we believe that's going to be very fruitful for us in a way that we can predict services. There is no reason for us to wait until a pothole is developed to go and fix it. If we can predict when a pothole is going to happen, we can go there and fix it at a fraction of the cost, fraction of the time, and hopefully we can eradicate some of today's issues by being proactive in detecting.
Which falls into the mayor's plan of streamlining and trying to be more efficient in government.
Absolutely, and that's what we call really government, it's seamless government. How can the government be there to detect and proactively provide the service so the public doesn't have to report, doesn't have to be engaged, and just improve the quality of life for everyone.
Yeah, that's great. Okay, Vas, I know you're eager to jump in.
It's fantastic. I mean, fantastic answers. But I would say that there are 3 big talent pools that you could access. It's not just about high salary and stock options, or people, trying to make an impact. There's a class of people who want to get into AI, who are very smart, who are with math and stats background, for example. They need a break. That would be a good class of people to target. There would be the post-IPO people who want to make a difference to the communities they live in, which is what you're talking about. You could target those types of people. And last but not the least, you could target people who have, who don't have family obligations anymore. Kids are in college. Not necessarily very senior citizens, but people who are smart, who have had successful careers, who want to make an impact.
Absolutely.
Those 3 classes of people would be more than willing to, to give up what they're doing and come and help the city. So your points are totally valid.
I'm really glad you said that. I take it you're interested in joining the city?
All right, let me push you all forward here for a minute.
No, I can
Talk-
help you reach those people.
Peter alluded to it a little bit. Talk about the Government AI Coalition that San Jose initiated. I think you were right at the forefront of that, so,
Absolutely.
Great question, by the way.
yeah, thank you.
So we started last year, we released our generative AI guidelines toward, early on in 2023. And to our surprise, we were bombarded by calls from colleagues, other CIOs, city managers, mayors, who are really trying to understand what is the city doing and how can we jump in the bandwagon with the city. And we explained to them that phase one is really for us to understand the risk, build the safety nets, make sure that whatever model we're going to develop and deploy, it's implemented in a safe, responsible, and purposeful manner. We're not just, we don't want to we have a technology, let's find a problem to fix. We want to really identify how can the technology be used in a meaningful way so it really extends or expands the possibility of this technology. And based on that, we started with a couple CIOs. I was at a conference and I kind of mentioned to them and they just loved the idea. Let's get together and build a coalition. And the second part, that when you look at how the government functions, we kind of fragmented. Most of the cities are less than 75,000 population. And we don't have a united voice when we go to the big players and say, we want to understand your transparency model, we want to understand where you get your data, how long you keep the data, and how effective your data. They just won't give us the time of the day. But when we consolidate our voices and come up with clear understanding of this is our expectation and principles for using AI, we achieve two things. Number one, we let the big companies understand your future development has to be guided by our principles. Otherwise, the 250 plus agency will not purchase your solutions. And two, eliminate surprises. There's nothing worse than a company investing millions and maybe billions of dollars to develop a solution only to find out that they violate some government regulations or a principle that if you're not going to be transparent, if you're not going to retain the information in a certain way, if you're not going to demonstrate how bias is removed from the data and how your model functions, where it's equitably used by or accessible by everyone, the government is going to have some concern and issue and may not even use that model. So it really worked in a way more than we expected. We have 9 founding agencies that joined us initially and 200 very active community of government workers that prove that when we come together, we can really tackle challenges that we thought would be used to be a bigger issue for us. And also highlighted how many talented people are in government. So that was really very refreshing for us to find all these people that have AI expertise or passion to be in that field, and it's been a great experience.
So economies of scale in a very important topic.
Absolutely. And now we're looking actually to see there are interest in international cities that reached out to us and said, why limit it to the US? Can you guys re-expand it? So we're looking to see how we can have a common understanding. What are the guiding principles for safety, equity, and other things that we need to understand? And also, one of the things we deal with international, there are other concerns that other regions of the world might have that we might not be privy to, or we might not have this issue big enough in the US or San Antonio, San Antonio. And that would really kind of help us to kind of expedite the learning curve and identify issues or conditions where way ahead of becoming an issue for this.
That's great. And Peter, you also, in your organization, you put together, well, let me look it up here, one second, Responsible AI Working Group that develop policies for your members and beyond. You want to talk about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So within the Silicon Valley Leadership Group, we have a subgroup of member companies who work in the AI space and have a strong interest in seeing the technology advance, but recognizing that that advancement is going to hinge on people's belief that the technology is safe and trustworthy. And as a result, we put this group together to consider and ultimately come up with a list of principles that our members can use as they are developing the technology to help them think through what are some of the challenges and issues, similar to how the city and municipalities around the country are thinking about it. How are we going to address issues of privacy? How might we maintain a human-centered focus on the technology? What are the degrees of transparency into the technology? And elements like this that help inform how the technology is being both developed and then ultimately deployed. And it serves as a basis for us when we look at our political advocacy and the work that we do engaging with policymakers at the local, state, and federal levels. That gives us a framework for looking at bills or potential legislation that we can use to evaluate to support certain bills or suggest changes or amendments to others.
And what are you hearing from your members? Are they still struggling with it, or are they looking for more? What kind of blueprint are you providing to them?
Yeah, I think that this is very much an ongoing process. This is an ongoing dialogue. This is, as technology continues to evolve and change, we're never going to get to a point where we can say, we finalized it, we're done. I mean, that would be the same as, government saying, hey, justice. We solved justice today, we're done. We don't have to ever talk about that topic ever again, or something like that. And so I think that's kind of a similar point for us. I think what has been interesting in terms of feedback from our members as they're thinking through a lot of these issues has really been, how do we engage with policymakers at cities, in Sacramento, at the federal level, to kind of establish a dialogue going back and forth? Because sometimes you have two parties that can be talking past each other. You have business, and then you have policymakers, and sometimes the business folks don't quite understand how the legislators see things, and the legislators might not understand how business folks see things. So for us, I think the feedback has really been one of how do we increase opportunities for dialogue between those two parties. And we've done a variety of different meetings with legislative leaders and business folks, and there's still so much education that needs to happen on both sides. So I think that desire to have an ongoing dialogue and to keep that going is probably the strongest set of feedback that we've got.
Can I add something?
On that
Yeah,
note,
I was just
think
going to let Vas jump in. Go ahead.
What you could do is work with the local congressmen who promulgate legislative policy in Washington, and then you can have access to some of the best practices. You can share and you can disseminate, but you can also then get access to funding. There are funds that are being allocated for city governments, and I am working closely with the local congressman here. And they'd be more than happy to work with your policies and initiatives.
Okay, I want to add just one thing to this. It's all start at the root of the AI. I mean, everybody who works, ever worked with an app or the web or designing any kind of a web app, understand the technology stack, right? This is the first question they ask you about it. There is something called the AI stack, and the AI stack has multiple layers. The point about responsible is basically the ethics and the bias, and it's missing. Whenever I talk to the startups, whenever my student propose something new about it, that layer is missing. To add that layer, you have to understand that sometimes they call it safety. And that's why you hear from the companies, without mentioning name, they have a safety team. They're talking about this. They're talking safety is reflected into three things: SSP, safety, security, and privacy. And some of them dismantle it. And some of them just move it to behind the scenes, because without understanding why they're doing this, you should understand that the more safety and the more control on the data and the processing the data and filtering the data and cleaning the data, you're asking the companies to make less money. They look at it from that perspective. And this is why they resist any kind of regulation and policies. Regulations will cripple innovation on all these kind of things. But we start at the student when they go to, they finish their degree, this thing has to be implemented in their mind about when they look at the stack, where is that layer? We have a class which is basically, the class is talking about computing ethics and society. That's the name of the class. And the whole thing started with MIT and Harvard, which they realized that you cannot just let computer science and computer engineering and software engineering go to the industry without understanding the impact of their products on the society from the ethical part of view, because money is not the only goal there. There's sometimes you lose money when you are doing this. So adding this layer, understanding, educating the engineers or the developers at that level, it's going to create some kind of questioning in the meeting. They say, we didn't cover that.
So, and that was something I was going to ask. As you're working with the students, I know Vas and both Ahmed, you both have students that you're working with in teaching. What do you tell them about, here's the next generation of technology, use it wisely in the workforce, understand the impact of it? Is it ethics and beyond?
It's fundamental to the implementation of any kind of AI, whether it is traditional AI, precision AI, or as generative AI. Every AI system needs to be monitored and observed. So it's not just monitoring and observing it for performance degradation, to minimize losses, but what has to be built into it is the whole cost of ethics and bias. For example, the Apple credit card automatically rated women at much lower, credit history, even though they earn more than their husbands at home. And so that's an example of bias, of historical bias. So businesses have to build into it, into their balance sheet, the costs associated with ethics, bias removal. I mean, ethics implementation and bias
Understood.
removal.
I think the challenge that we're looking at AI from the wow factor, and we're ignoring all the potential risks associated with it. You cannot have a good AI without the data. And if you look at the data collected in the last 75 years, it was biased by a certain group of people. Primarily, people who have access to the technology or did something digital, their data is captured, and the data don't represent the population there. So we know we have inherent bias in the data. So the question is, what do we do with it? Some companies are dealing with it as a group of people to tackle it, and others dealing with it as a culture. When you deal with it as a step in the process, you're just going to capture some of it, because you are as intelligent and capable as the ability of that subgroup of employees. If it's a culture, then everybody's looking every aspect and every step in the process to make sure that is our data clean, is our processes clean, is our understanding is clean. How do we validate the process? How do we look for issues in the bias? Is it equitable? Is it? I think it's a culture change that we need to understand. And if we learned anything in the past, if you look at the internet and everything in the social media, if cybersecurity was a little bit more worse than we have today, I think a lot of people will stop using the internet because they know every time they get on the internet, they're going to get compromised, right? So if we need to take a different posture to say, we want AI to be used and flourish. And for it to be used, we have to create the ecosystem to make it safe, accessible, and unbiased, so people feel safe when they use it. Otherwise, I think we're just going to be hitting a similar path with the cybersecurity.
Totally. I want to get a couple of questions. Ahmed, did you want to say anything about this before I took a couple of questions? You're good?
30 seconds just about this. And I agree with Khalid, what Khalid is saying. Now, just to start talking to the student about why ethics is very important to the AI, we classify the AI, and I think all of you, or most of you understand that, it's actually 3 levels: the narrow AI, the general AI, and the super AI. Narrow is gone, Siri and Alexa before the upgrade, and then the general AI is what we have, and then the super AI in the future. The difference between the one difference between the 3 elements is the human is smarter than the AI in the first one, the human and the AI is the same intelligence, and the third one is the super, the AI will be smarter than the human. We don't want to get to the super with the bad data. That's the key thing. I told them the Terminator is coming, whether you like it or not. Skynet is real. The matrix is alive. It's a matter of looking at how can you really have a healthy AI in this sense. And I remember, and I think I mentioned this one in the green room, we talk about it. I was given a training to engineers from Ferrari. They didn't give me a car. I tried so hard.
Let me negotiate the deal next time for you.
Thank you. I asked for a red one, but no. So I told them, just to explain to them what is this AI about. I told them the AI revolution started because we have 3 ingredients that happened at the same time available. Number one is the big data. How much data we have so far in 2023 compared to 2010 and 2000. And number 2 is the NVIDIA, the H100, the B200, all of these chips. Number 3 is the algorithms. The algorithms, which is the Pythons, the R, everything used there. I told them to map this one to your industry, the data is the fuel. The hardware is the car. The algorithm is the driver. So if you have all of them, you're going to win Formula 1 all the time, F1 all the time. Now, make one of them bad. Make the fuel bad. What's going to happen? You're going to find the car shaking. You cannot win. You have to make sure that all of them is correct, and you're going to get to the right destination. This is the example I give it to the student about it. It's not just about having the AI for the AI. We have an example about some of the strange answers, without mentioning the company, about adding non-toxic glue to the cheese so it can stick to the pizza. I think most of you heard about that. It's hallucination, we understand this, but this is tell you that there's something. If they make a mistake in a simple common sense like this, what happened to the hidden bias we have in the data?
Okay. All right, I'm going to take a couple of questions from the audience now, and thank you all for that information. Okay, here's the first question. As someone who doesn't work in the AI and tech sector, what advice do you have to help stay up to date on AI and not fall behind? Who'd like to take that?
I can answer it.
You can answer?
Yes.
Go ahead.
Follow me on LinkedIn, okay? I publish so many articles about AI. Actually, you have to upskill yourself. First of all, you have to look at AI as a partner, not as a threat. And that's the mindset has to change in that direction. See how can the AI help you in your current job? How can you do jobs faster? Now, why the AI is so desirable and it's attractive to the business people? Because of 3 things. Because it's actually do the task more accurate, faster, and cheaper. And if you have this in mind about what you're doing with your job, okay, if I bring the AI and the AI can make it more accurate, the result, and can do this one faster, and it's not going to cost the company money, then you upscale yourself. Well, look at the AI as your assistant, as your partner. That's why you see a lot of those companies, example, one of the big companies, they call it co-pilot. They didn't say the pilot, because you are the pilot.
I think the best way to learn about AI for someone who hasn't learned AI, doesn't know anything about AI or math or quantitative stuff is ask AI. Go to ChatGPT and ask, how do I start learning about it? It is incredible what you can learn just by simply starting a conversation. I have delved into esoteric topics and begun to learn about it. And you can also tell the ChatGPT or Gemini what your background is, and it'll tailor its answers to your level of knowledge. So it's incredible.
So dip your toe in the water.
Yeah, I think it's important, and I don't mean to cut you off. Did you have anything else to say on that?
No, go ahead.
Okay. I was just going to say, I think it's important to recognize that this question has an implicit assumption that if you don't work in tech or work directly with AI, that AI doesn't necessarily impact you. And I would disagree with that premise. I think, I think of what Jensen Huang, the CEO of NVIDIA, said a couple of months ago. He was saying that everybody's a coder now. Everybody's a coder by virtue of having one of these. If you have one of these, you're a coder. You have the ability to access tools, expertise, resources online that can perform all of the functions that in the past would be reserved solely for the province of coders. So the same way that when the internet really kind of came into prominence in the early and mid 90s and folks thought, well, I'm not a coder, I'm not a programmer, I don't work in Silicon Valley, what does the internet really mean for me? And now how much of our lives are spent online? I think that's kind of where we're at right now, the very beginning stages of this great transition with regard to AI. And so I would encourage very much those to review your blog. I also put out, articles a lot every week on my my LinkedIn, so check that out. But very high level, so that folks can kind of understand what are the general trends that are happening, where is this story going in terms of technology? And there are abundant resources online using ChatGPT and others to learn about the technology, but just to figure out what is the narrative that's being written around AI. And I can promise you, we're all going to be characters in that larger story. So it makes sense to
You can also ask, what is Peter saying about it?
Absolutely. There are resources.
Yeah.
I think the media hype created a lot of intimidation for those who don't understand the technology. And we always think about the worst case scenario, and people get intimidated and shy away from it. It's almost, I'm going to use your Ferrari example. Driving in a Ferrari in a Formula One race is hard. But driving a car or a bike is not really that complicated. But people think about, when you think about cars and racing, they think about that condition. Start small. You don't have to be a developer. Just start using the technology to get the intimidation out. And it's gradually upskill your knowledge. But I think that's one of the biggest problems. People get intimidated and say, oh, this is too complex. Only smart people can do it. And therefore, they miss out on the simple tools and features that they can access easily.
Okay, well, you heard it. All you have to do is get online, download the app, and learn.
I know we had other questions, and we are literally out of time, so I apologize for that. But I do want to thank everybody. I want to thank Peter, Vas, Khalid, and Ahmed for being here today with us to talk about this, and I hope you all have a better understanding of what AI is about and how it works in our community, in government, in private sector, through policy, and through academia. And I really appreciate them also. Thank you for that. I also want to remind everybody that we're going to take a 10-minute break now and then come back at 11 o'clock for the next panel, which is the Santa Clara Board of Supervisors Candidate Forum. So thank you again, all of you, for being here today, and thank you all for joining us. Appreciate
Our pleasure.
it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh,
Yeah, absolutely.
okay, putting all.
Appreciate it, man.
Thank you. Thank you, Josh. Thank you.
All right, here we are. Good?